After reviewing the counseling sessions and reading chapters 8 and 9 from our textbook on Introduction to Counseling, I found that the sessions were very similar to what I had imagined a counseling session would look like. Before watching the videos, I had imagined that instead of direct guidance, that the video sessions would look very similar to what I experienced as a client. These sessions were effective in demonstrating that counseling focuses much more on active listening and guidance and helping the clients to develop their own insights on their experiences rather than simply telling them what to do. The counselors also created a safe and supportive environment where the client felt heard and understood, which is essential in a good counseling process. Several counseling skills and characteristics described in chapter 8 and 9 were visible through the sessions. One of the most noticeable skills was active listening, where the counselor demonstrated attentiveness through eye contact, body language, and their verbal responses. The counselors also used reflection and paraphrasing, which helped clarify what the client was actually trying to communicate while showing empathy and understanding. Another skill that stood out to me was the use of open-ended questions, which encouraged the client to explore more deeply their thoughts and feelings about the experiences rather than just giving simple yes or no responses. Research supports the importance of these counseling techniques. For example, the research on therapeutic alliance suggests that empathy, collaboration, and counselor responsiveness plays a huge role in the positive outcomes for counseling. Additionally, studies on counselor effectiveness emphasize that core relationship skills such as warmth, empathy, and genuineness play a key predictor in the success of a counseling relationship. These findings align closely with what I saw throughout the course sessions and the course readings. In considering the theoretical orientations presented in these sessions, I noticed that the elements that align closely with Person-Centered Therapy by Carl Rogers. The counselors appeared to emphasize empathy, acceptance, and allowing the client to lead the conversation, rather than directing the session and immediately focusing on the solutions. The counselors created an environment where the client felt safe to reflect and explore their thoughts and feelings and gain insight into their experiences. Additionally, there were moments where cognitive behavioral therapy, particularly when the counselor helped the client reflect on how their thoughts might influence their emotions and their behaviors. If I had the opportunity to ask a counselor a question, I'd ask how they decided when to remain silent and allow the client to process their emotions and thoughts versus when they should intervene with a reflection or another question. I noticed that there were moments of intentional silence in the sessions, and I imagine that knowing when to use the silence effectively is an important counseling skill that is developed through experience and training. Christian perspective, the attitudes demonstrated by the counselors also reflect biblical principles related to compassion and understanding. For example, James 1:19 encourages believers to be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger, which closely mirrors the counselors in these sessions and active listening. In addition, Galatians 6:2 reminds us that we should bear one another's burdens, which reflects the supportive role that counselors play in helping a client navigate difficult life circumstances. Overall, these sessions reinforced what I believed an effective counseling and a positive counseling experience would look like.